Hi Bio4, welcome to part 2 of digestive system. So we start out with the tongue in this video, and it's an interesting question that always comes up, which is the tongue, is it skeletal muscle or not? What do you think? So skeletal muscle usually moves the skeleton. Well, what about here? Is it a skeletal muscle? Yes, because it is voluntary. You can move your tongue in whatever direction you wanted to, so definitely it is skeletal muscle. I wanted to tell you about the lingual frenulum. This is an individual who has a lingual frenulum that's too tight. Do you notice? This is a piece of tissue that connects your tongue to the floor of the mouth. In this particular individual, it's way too connected. But if you lift your tongue up, you can definitely see under there the lingual frenulum that anchors it down. On the surface of the tongue, there are papillae. One papilla, plural papillae. So this is going to assist the tongue in moving materials around in there, because when you have something slippery like a grape in your mouth, you're going to need to be able to anchor it there and not have it just slip and slide around. So these papillae are helpful in sort of attaching onto food. Now, taste buds are actually found in the proximity of the papillae, very close to the edges of these papillae, but they're not the same thing. The taste buds are the receptors. The papillae are the actual mechanical helpers, little protrusions on your tongue that are going to help you. So these papillae are very different depending on where they're found. And these are some examples. These are in the senses chapter if you need to look those up. So as you see in the majority of your tongue, and you can go to a mirror and stick your tongue out and look at it, you have two kinds of papillae. One that are more flat like this, and they look more like a little mushroom. So they're called fungiform papilla or papillae. Do you notice? And it's just a little mushroom like that. Or you can have some that protrude out like this, that are pointier, and these are filiform papillae, and you have a mixture of those throughout your tongue. Now in the back of your tongue, you're going to have to really stick your tongue out in front of the mirror to look at these. You have these circumvallate papilla, and even though this one looks very much like this, do you notice? This is just one little mushroom here. Look at this one. Yeah, it's the mushroom, but it has this second layer, and then this sort of third layer, which is the rest of the tongue. So it kind of has a ring around them. Circumvallate, so circumference is coming around, so it has that ring around them. So these are bigger, and you have fewer of them there in the back of your tongue. Now, what is similar to all of them is neurons that go to them, right? So here you're showing these gustatory cells, which are receptor cells, chemoreceptors, that travel like this, and they end up in what is a pore. So we have, at the base of these, so a chemical will fall down in here, and then you have the taste receptor. So that chemical's going to come down and get detected by that chemoreceptor. Here's the other chemoreceptors, here are the other chemoreceptors. So they're usually in the proximity of those papillae. What else you have around the mouth? So you have salivary glands, and the largest of them are really not within the mouth. You have them elsewhere, and then it has a little tube, a duct, that's going to transport that saliva to where it needs to be put, which is around the tongue. And why do you need it? Well, it's going to keep your mucous membranes moist. It's going to help inhibit growth of bacteria. You don't want that around. And it's another lubricant for food, so it's going to be able to wrap around your food, and as you swallow it, it's not like swallowing something dusty dry, right? It's going to be able to moisten it for you. And it also begins the chemical breakdown of food in your mouth, so it's going to dissolve it. Carbohydrate digestion, in other words, sugars are going to start, that digestion is going to begin in the mouth. What is in saliva? What are the solutes that are within saliva? Well, you have an enzyme called salivary amylase. So if it's amylase, anything ending in ase, remember, is an enzyme. So this is for the digestion of starches. Lingual, coming from the tongue, lipase. So if it's ase, it's an enzyme. Lip, it's a fat. So it's the digestion of fats. What else? You can have mucus in there. And then in the vicinity, lysozymes that are going to be able to secrete an enzyme that kill bacteria. Remember, every time you have an entryway to the body, you're going to have to be on alert to be able to kill those bacteria that are coming in, the unwanted bacteria. Also, we have immunoglobulins, immunoglobulin A, which is an antibody that is going to also attack some of those bacteria and inhibit that bacterial growth. And electrolytes. You have sodium, potassium, chlorine, all of these, and also on top of that bicarbonate, which is going to adjust the pH of what you're eating in the mouth. Okay, so it's complex what's in saliva. I'm going to show you where those salivary glands are. So we have 3 different types of glands, of salivary glands. The first one is the largest of them, parotid. Look, just anterior to your ear, very large gland. I don't know if you eat something that's really, really sour, you kind of feel it there right by the ear, right? They secrete a very thick secretion into the mouth, so they have a little tube that's going to go into the mouth and dump that saliva in the region of the mouth. These are the ones that get inflamed if you get the mumps. All of you are vaccinated, I think, for the mumps, so you don't get the mumps. But I'll show you a picture of if you were to get the mumps. This poor baby is sort of normal on this side, and on this side, this is all swollen. Poor kid. Didn't get the vaccine. Type 2, submandibular. So down here, below the mandible, they secrete the largest amount of saliva. It's a much more watery saliva. So it ends up being larger volumes of saliva, but not larger gland. And then the smallest of the glands, which is sublingual, right under the tongue. Okay, sublingual, submandibular, and parotid. Okay, this is a sort of little more accurate picture. And there you have the parotid and the parotid duct coming into the mouth. And then sublingual right under the tongue with its little ducts coming into the mouth. And submandibular. So it's interesting, you put it somewhere else and then you have a tube that carries the contents towards the mouth because they don't all fit in the mouth. Let's stop there at the salivary glands and then continue on to the pharynx next. Thanks for listening, guys.